time we get to walk with angels, secrets and signs are told in pictures. Now look at all the time I don't remember. I've got 40 rolls of fun I'm never shown to anyone. The stories of my life are told in pictures. Oh no. So sing your song loud. You know the one, you know what it's about. Love and leaving. But why is it we only get the smiles and not the sin? The secrets and the signs are told in pictures. Now look at all the time I don't remember. I got 40 rolls of fun I've never shown to anyone. The stories of my life are told in pictures. Oh no, no. Oh no, no. So take the picture now. Come on, take the picture now. You can believe what you want. 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 But I've got 40 rolls of fun I've never shown to anyone. The stories of my life are told in pictures. Oh no, no, no. Told in pictures. Oh no, no, no. Told in pictures.
Excellent.
Thanks for having me, man.
Hammond, welcome,
I feel welcome.
brother.
Long time no see.
Yeah, brother. So that is the first song off of your latest record, Silver Suitcase.
It is.
Which I've been getting into
Awesome.
so much, man, since you put it out. So this was the first thing you put out under your name?
Under my own name, like for real, you know, in like 90, I mean, I'm going to age myself, but back in the mid 90s, I put out some stuff that I did in the Heights in the garage apartment, buddy's studio, a little hang in there.
Cool.
And it was essentially demos.
Right.
But it enabled me to start playing live. So.
And this record, you played everything on it?
I did, that's why it took so damn long.
Well, it sounds stellar, man. I
Thank
mean,
you.
The first thing that got my attention was just how consistent the songs were.
Oh, cool.
Lovely, lovely record. I mean, it harkens back to a time when hooks didn't have to hit you like an anvil
Right.
on your head, and they could still be considered hooks. The subtlety of it, the changes are beautiful, and then, you know, not even talking about the musicianship.
Oh.
It's just out of this world.
Thank you, man. Thanks for saying
Really,
that.
really. So I first saw Matt. I don't know what year this is talking about. Aging yourself. I'm scared to even try to guess. But this would have been, you were playing drums with Mineral.
Oh my God.
And this was at Emos, when Emos was in Houston, when they had an Emos in Houston.
That's right.
Would you have been in that lineup?
Well, so I definitely played at the Emos in Houston with my first band, Nothing in Return. That kind of the rhythm section, me and Jeremy Gomez turned into the rhythm section of Mineral shortly after. But yeah, in that era, 93, 94.
Right.
And then we all moved to Austin, and then I stayed in for a short time, and then I started playing with David Rice full time on drums.
Right, David Rice.
Remember him?
Holy moly, I really do.
Yeah, he was great. He is great. He's a great friend.
Yeah, he was around when I first started. I guess he was on Justice Records,
Right.
Randall Jamel's thing.
Who's still around, actually. I saw his name connected with that Day for Night festival.
Randall?
Yeah.
Really?
Did you read that?
What I understood was that it was history now.
Okay.
Um,
Or maybe he was part of the
some really
initial idea. Or
controversial shit happened over the past
Oh, man.
year or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll talk about that in a later episode. Maybe we can get Omar Afra in here.
Oh.
And so I'm curious. So did you start on drums? Had you played guitar or done anything before drums? How did you start music?
Yeah, so it all hit at the same time. For starters, you know, my parents are very musical people. My dad was a drummer in college, and you know, my mom went out to San Francisco after high school to be part of the whole Summer of Love
nice.
and the whole deal.
Yeah.
So music was just foundational in our house, and you know, vinyl records would wake me up on Saturday morning.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Like
That's
good
such
runs.
a privilege, man.
Like Bob Marley, Exodus on vinyl. My mom's out there burning incense in the living room, and you know, Exodus is playing. I'm like, how is this not going to shape my life?
Oh wow.
Right. Early things like Dire Straits, and like my dad just like, listen to this guitar playing, but like their songs too, and
Wow.
the drummer's just playing to the song. And so
Your
my
parents-
dad is a visual artist, but he always listens to music in a very artful way, you know what I'm saying? And it was a biggest gift that my parents gave to me,
Yeah, that's
was
a hell
that-
of a palette
was that
to
musicality.
inherit.
And let's see what else. And we went to concerts a lot. And then when I started playing with David, we had David Rice. We had a Monday night at Munchies for years.
Munchies.
And
Oh, wow.
and it would go late, and you know, my dad would be there like super late, and like stay until the end of the night on a work night, you know.
Cool.
So I just had that encouragement.
Supportive parents.
Yeah, so the supportive parents,
Well-informed parents.
and they're still very supportive. And they still live here, and they're still alive, and they're still married, and I'm super grateful for all that.
Inspiring.
And then when I was 15, my dad bought me my first set of drums. And I had also been in a church, like youth group thing, sitting around like this, singing songs,
Playing guitar.
and I was like, learned that chord, and now I know 3 or 4 more.
That's right.
So, you know, and that's all you need.
Yeah, well, you can be overqualified in rock and roll very easily.
Absolutely.
A lot of stuff can get in the way. And I've found, I don't know about you, but the songs that I write are getting much more efficient.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting simpler,
Sure.
less ornamentation, you know, less...
Yeah. All killer, no filler.
Yeah.
That's interesting you say that. You know, my biggest influence is Bob Mould, you know, from Husker Du and Sugar, and I
That
was
was going to be my
enough,
next question.
lucky enough to be in his band in the 90s and stuff, and but he's made 3 records in a row now with John Worster on drums, the guy from Superchunk, and Jason Narducci, a Chicago guy, and I was in his band for a year back in the 90s. But each one of those records with those 3 guys, to get simpler and simpler and simpler, and better and better and better. You
Yeah,
know?
well, it's a skill,
Yeah.
you know?
Mhm.
It's almost like this form of Zen when it comes
Oh,
to songwriting. Just
absolutely.
extremely efficient. Get to the point. What is the message?
Yeah.
I like that. I do like some pretty complex music as well.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
But personally, as a songwriter, I'm finding that to be the trajectory.
Yeah.
Just to cut out, anything that's superfluous or.
Yeah. Yeah, and then from a songwriting perspective, man, I just can't put enough emphasis on the solo Dylan stuff. I remember when I was in high school, I had a Walkman with a tape, like I don't even know what it was called. I don't even know what Dylan's first records were called. But it was just him, and the guitar's out of tune, and he's wearing it up here.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
that stuff shaped me, man. Like, Just Like a Woman and songs
Yeah.
like that. And I'm like, that's so simple, but it's changing my life for some reason, you know?
Yeah, it's
And-
powerful stuff, man.
And then in our first band, you know, we weren't good enough musicians to do any cover songs. We had to write our own songs and kind of thrown into it. But every once in a while we do like a Simon and Garfunkel or
Yeah,
something with 3 chords.
Right.
The three chords that we knew,
sure.
you know. And but yeah, I mean, folks, the early guys and from when we all got out of high school on the west side of Houston, and it was just a real precious collection of people at the right time.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So your path has been pretty straight and narrow. I talked to some songwriters. This always baffles me. Really tasteful songwriters who kind of had to go through like 80s hair metal
Right.
and everything in between
Yeah.
to get to this, what I consider to be really tasteful
Sure.
songwriting.
Yeah.
I got into it really late myself,
Okay.
and so
Well, you
I-
look like you're maybe 23 years old, so
oh,
yeah.
thank you so much. So yeah, I got into it late. I've never had, never once dealt with the aspiration of wanting to be a great guitarist or anything like that. So the first 2 chords someone taught me, I was writing.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it yourself. I mean, I didn't know how to do covers.
Right.
They were too daunting.
Mm-hmm.
It was chord charts and things, and I just kind of wanted to create stuff
Yeah.
and see what I could do, mess around. And I think it worked for me
Mm-hmm. For
as
sure.
far as what I wanted to do. But
Well, plus you have such an amazing voice.
oh,
You're like a
I
real
appreciate it.
singer. You were a real singer, and I've always meant to tell that to you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Because I
I'm-
don't really like male voices, but you're an exceptional singer.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I'm extremely self-conscious about it. And it's funny you mentioned Bob Dylan. He is my favorite
Yeah.
singer.
Mm-hmm.
It's much more about how you do it. I like quirks. I like little. I don't know how to describe it, but anyway, I mean, in this day and age, with the singing shows, it's
Right.
turned into more of a
Mhm.
sport.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's more about chops and flash and flair and so forth. When I remember, this was back in the day when I started. It was around the time of Jeff Buckley was around.
Oh, yeah.
Radiohead was coming into
Yeah.
their own. And so the comparisons were endless to the
Mhm.
point where I just stopped singing above a certain register because
Well,
it was
Yeah.
a little bit distracting at a certain
Well,
point.
that was the era where beautiful male voices came back. From the Freddie Mercury, and then the kind of the 80s and really the 90s kind of sounding like crap on purpose, and
Yeah.
the Seattle thing,
Sure.
and then Radiohead comes out with this really smart and really like agitating music. I'm a creep,
Yeah.
but he's singing like an angel,
Yeah.
And then Jeff Buckley just took rock and roll itself to a whole different plane.
Right, more
Yeah.
like cabaret. It was a different element completely. I think
Yeah.
I think that was happening in New York,
Mhm.
like the downtown scene, but the rest of the world didn't know
No.
about this.
My wife wrote an essay about that called "When New York Was Wild," because she's a New Yorker, and
Mhm.
very, very, very beautiful time that was in the '90s in the city.
It was. Speaking of Cameron, your wife,
Yeah.
we have to get her on here at some point because I'm a
We do.
huge fan.
I'm a
of,
fan as well.
You
Yeah.
guys have a hell of a thing going. Also, the other band, the Rebecca West. That's
Yeah.
another thing I'm really into.
Oh,
I think the
cool.
songs are awesome.
Well, they're mostly her songs.
Is that right?
Yeah, so that was a really cool thing. I was set up. I had the studio set up, and she came in one day to the piano and just sang this little song, and it had so much energy to it and just life. Like
Mhm.
as a songwriter, it's like, okay, this song has something on it. There's
It's got
something on
something.
this one. It's 4 chords and a melody, but it's got something on it.
It's well put together, man.
Yeah, and so and that song was called "Lost and Found," and it was kind of a ballad. And I'm like, no, I want this song to have energy, so I put a 4 on the floor stomp
Okay.
thing, and recorded all the acoustics and then arranged some strings and stuff on it, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is the sound of a band now, you know. And so we spent a few weeks turning it into an EP, and then her brother Alex, he's like, okay, so I have to be in this band. I'm like, okay, so you're pretty much the best songwriter in America, so I guess we'll let you be in the band.
Alex,
you know,
decent of the demos, yeah.
Yeah, and so then it was the three of us, and we actually did some really cool touring with that band and made that EP.
I don't know where I was, but yeah, I wish I could have seen some of those shows. I'd love to hear some more stuff.
Yeah.
What you, I mean, from you. No. What you got?
Well, let's see. Let's keep it on the record. This is a song I wrote when I lived in New York City with Cameron, and I hadn't really reflected on leaving my home, you know. And I got to New York, and I was like, okay, I don't care where she lives, but wherever this woman lives is where I'm going to be calling my home for the rest of my life.
Amen.
And I woke up one day, I'm like, with this realization that I might not ever come back to Texas, and you know, and I love Texas. I really love Texas.
You're from?
I'm here. I'm from
Houston.
From Houston, but I get it. I love Texas. I love the Texas thing. And this song is just a reflection on that.
Cool.
It's called Sleeper's Town. Okay.
Awesome.
Not so brutal to use. Is there a line? Snow White, as I held you up, I stayed around a sorry sleeper's town. And I know myself even better now that I don't find you in the way. I don't know you anymore, but it's okay. Is there a place void of contact with your face? I've got a pocket full of seeds that need to grow. Now I need to know that I have found a place to call my own. And I know myself even better since I let you hide the years away now. I don't know you anymore. 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 But it's okay. It's okay now. It's okay now.
gorgeous. That is
Thank you.
gorgeous, man.
Thank you.
That is a lovely, lovely version. So any shows in the works? I know you just had something at White Oak.
Just played a full band thing at White Oak.
How did that go? I was out of town. Otherwise, I would have.
It was great.
You asked
Well,
me
you
to
were
open.
more than out of town. You were
Yeah.
out of country.
Out of country
You were in that country where all the beautiful people live.
in Colombia.
That's where you were.
It was a good time for sure. But the show was cool.
The show was great. Very, very loud. It was extremely loud. It was my first show as a trio where I was just playing electric.
Like on stage was loud.
The whole thing was freaking so
Really?
loud in there. It was awesome.
So good loud.
Oh my god,
Okay.
so good.
You felt it.
Yeah, and I have a drummer named Craig Weaver, and he's a fan of the record, and we have all the same favorite bands from the '80s,
Right.
and then my best friend Kevin Thompson on bass, and it's just having those guys there is priceless for me. So,
I
and then all my students showed up, right? So everyone in the room is someone who I've actually taught.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
so it's a really cool dynamic. It's
Captive
great.
audience.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And so who's the drummer?
His name is Craig Weaver. You know Craig? He's a College Station guy.
The name certainly sounds familiar, but anytime a drummer turned singer-songwriter
Yeah.
goes on about a drummer, I gotta check the drummer out.
Craig is great. Craig he's cool. He's really tall, and it informs how he plays.
Okay. So he whacks the shit out of him, or?
Well, he can, and he does, but appropriately. He's great. He has great touch, great time, but you know, he definitely knows how to hit hard as well. This drum sounds so beautiful.
Wow.
So,
Anything? What do you have coming up? Any shows?
let's see. No. I'd like to. Let's do a show.
I'd love to.
Yeah.
You say when. I'm there.
Um,
I'm a big fan of this man.
I'm a big fan of this man, and actually that record you made with the flower on it, the I'll Be Here Awake,
Oh yeah.
that's a good one, bro.
Thank you. Yeah,
It's
that
a
was
really, really good record.
that was some real straight ahead,
Hmm.
simple rock and roll. I definitely didn't overthink that. Like I can tend to do that.
Yeah, as we do.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. Oh my God, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And so, are you working on something right now? as
I
far as
actually,
the record?
that's a good question. I actually, when I finished Silver Suitcase, it came out in October of 2017, so just a little over a year ago. But I finished it around May, June of 2017, and I haven't made new music since then.
Oh wow.
Like I shut my computer, I ruined my computer making that album,
Really?
and
Overloaded?
yeah, and I thought I was gonna have to get a new machine. So, you know, a year and a half goes by. I'm like, I literally have not turned on my studio gear in a year and a half. And now I spent the weekend getting it all together, and so I'm set back up, and it just feels so good.
Oh, excellent.
So I'm about to start a brand new record, like over Christmas break.
So, meaning that that you've not written, and now you're gonna start writing again, or you've got stuff that are you always writing? I'm always curious.
well-
That's always a question. With songwriting, I remember reading something with Leonard Cohen talking. He was
Yeah.
very adamant about songwriters should write every day.
That's right.
I've got mixed feelings about that, though. I was kind of like, well, fuck you. What if
Yeah,
I'm not
right.
in the mood for
Yeah.
it? Or
I mean,
I'm not. Yeah, I don't wait for the planets to align either.
Right.
But I think with me, it turns out, what ends up happening are just these spurts.
Yeah,
I'll go
for
on
sure.
a spurt for like a month or maybe a few weeks, and then not do anything for a little while.
Yeah, I was talking with Chris Simpson from Mineral and all that about that. And
But they're back, right?
yeah, they're doing their 25 year 25 is 2019, so they're reissuing everything and doing another world tour.
Insane.
But we were talking this exact same thing, and yeah, he's like, yeah, a couple years ago I wrote like 60 songs, and that's kind of, that's gonna keep me going for a while,
He's good.
And I'm like, yeah,
Backlog.
I don't write a lot of songs at all. I mean, I'm not one of those guys. Elvis Costello, one of my very favorite records of his is called Brutal Youth.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I wrote 6 of those songs in one day. I'm like, It's because you're Elvis Costello, dude. You're a crafter.
Yeah,
You know?
always amazes me when
Yeah.
people they talk about going into the studio with a crazy amount of songs, like 60 to 100, and then narrowing it down to whatever. I mean, depending on the writer. I mean, can there be 60 good songs? Period. Are there 60 good songs out there?
I don't know.
But yeah, there's some impressive, really, prolific people out there.
Yeah.
For sure.
I took my whole songwriting journey from when I was a kid up until the age of 43, and everything I ever wrote was on the table, for Silver Suitcase, to be reimagined and all recorded at the same time. And so I picked my 10 favorite songs that I've ever written. So there's a song on this record that I wrote when I was 19 years old.
Oh wow.
That I did with my band, Nothing in Return.
It's also solid. I venture to say you've got another record in there, just from that process.
I do, and that's what this second album is.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's another batch of 10 songs that will be driven by this guitar, the acoustic guitar.
It's a beautiful sound.
But I have this hybridization of it with all these pedals and amps and stuff, and so one performance goes out to 5 tracks.
Okay.
With stereo distortion and stereo delay and verb, and then one straight up the middle, and then I double track it with mics.
Wow.
So it's like 8 tracks of it's a wall of acoustic guitar.
Wow.
And that's the framework for the new record.
So it's going to be acoustic. That's a great idea.
Because when you're producing yourself, and I'm essentially in pre-production in here right now, you know?
Sure.
And when you're producing yourself, and this is what I would have done differently on Silver Suitcase, is you have to put really, really clear parameters about what a record's going to be, or else you'll
It's
never ever
overwhelming.
finish it.
Yeah. That's the most overwhelming thing is I'm a big fan of that, kind of establishing your color palette.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm.
I
Are you
seem
a
to
painter also?
No.
I didn't know if these were some originals. Or,
No, these are local people though.
Oh, wow,
I make
cool.
it a point to put local art.
Yeah.
But yeah, without that,
Mhm.
without these sort of coordinates or confines, I can freeze.
Oh, yeah,
It's
man.
too overwhelming. But I mean, then there's the argument for like the White Album kind of stuff where anything goes.
Yeah.
And,
And that was my Silver Suitcase was that for me. That scratched all those itches of deep album production. And
cool.
so now it's going to be literally 3 voices. Well, four. The acoustic, the drum kit, the bass guitar, and then I am going to do string arrangements on this record.
Nice. And you're going to do everything again on your own.
Yeah, and it's my studio's optimized for the solo performer. Mm-hmm. It's I just sit in front of the desk and everything's just right there. It's
Beautiful.
I've accumulated so much stuff through it.
And so you've got it up and running now,
Yeah.
and now starts the
And I sent my
process.
computer to Apple, and they totally refurbished it. It's brand new. It's a 2012, but it's now essentially a brand new computer, and they did it for $300. And I thought I was gonna have to spend almost $3,000 on a new machine.
Whoa.
And but it's all hit at the right time. I'm about to have 2 weeks off, and I'm gonna try to track most of this record in that time. So, yeah.
We're catching him at a good time.
Yeah, we'll see.
This is exciting.
So
man.
that's what's next for me is to make another record. And
Beautiful.
I'm not even really sure. Like, I mean, I love playing shows, man. But I think I really prefer making albums.
If I had to choose, that's consistent. It's been consistently a better time
Mm-hmm.
to make them as opposed to playing. Now I've had some surreal, transcendent experiences live, but I've
Yeah.
also had some horrible, soul-deadening experiences as well. So if I did have to
Yeah,
choose,
soul deadening.
I get it. I get why the Beatles did what they did.
Yeah.
It's a whole other art form.
Yeah, and what we were talking about earlier is like just how everything has just changed with music delivery, and like, is it even a meaningful exercise to go out and do a showcase type of show where people come to see your band play for an hour? It's not like going and providing music for something, right? But like going and doing a rock show at a rock venue, and it's amazing. It's amazing,
Yeah.
amazing. But like, if you're not touring, how often can you really do that?
Yeah, it's you know, I mean, you should do it mainly because it's fun,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
because it's going to be a good time. But as far as like a career move, yeah, I don't know, man. Everything's been turned upside down.
Yeah.
What I try to do is just kind of, you know, keep it open, be open to
Yeah,
new
for
ideas
sure, yeah.
and new ways to like. I would have never thought this would be a thing,
A thing ever.
but it forces me to socialize every Monday
Yeah.
because
No.
I wouldn't otherwise.
I watched one of yours from a few weeks ago, and there's like 600 views. I'm like, that dude probably people at like one show,
Yeah.
or at least not in a long time, right?
Yeah.
Not you, but the guy that was on.
Either anyone.
Yeah.
Anyone involved.
But I'm like, that's 600 people that you just shared your music with, you know. And for me, it's
Yeah.
like, if you zoom out, what is the point? It's like to share your music, right?
Exactly.
And then that's what we're doing. So,
Yeah, you can lose sight of that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what we're doing. So, what are you going to leave us with, Matt?
I'm gonna leave you, since the name of this show. Do you call this a podcast, by the way?
I'm not sure what it is.
This is like a video podcast.
Video
on
podcast?
Facebook.
Technically, that would be the term for it.
Well, since the name of your video podcast is 3 Songs to Ruin Your Monday, I'm gonna do one that does just that. I went out and played. Last year. I went and flew out and played a show at the Hotel Cafe in LA.
Oh, cool! Yeah, I was there last year. I played a show last
Great,
year.
great, so good. And so I flew out on a Saturday morning, played at 7 o'clock on Saturday night, and was back at the airport at 10:30, and flew
Wow.
home and slept in my own bed. So
That's rock stars. That's Rolling Stones.
it was
type
it was
stuff.
pretty rad, and just to play, you know, a 45-minute set at a great venue. But every experience has something to be taken from it. So I was like, what am I going to learn tonight? You know, and so that night, what I learned is that this song is a better song than I thought it was.
Okay.
One of my friends who lives out there, he had to leave halfway through the set, but it's like, dude, play that song more often, you know? I'm like, oh, okay. And then my dad's like, I really love that song. I think that's the best song. I'm like, really? This song is track 8? This is a deep cut. Anyway, so...
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
And so I'm going to play this song to ruin your Monday, you know?
And to prove that LA is good for something.
It's good for lots of things. But anyway, you know, you're an artist, you're a writer. We all struggle with, you know, depression, depressive thoughts, and things like that.
No.
And it's not fun, but it's just part of the thing, unfortunately. And this is a song about that, about living with that, as Winston Churchill called the black dog, you know. So that's that. That's just about what this song is about. It's called Colorful Regret.
Sweet.
You wake up to find that there's no one on the way, and you know you won't get to talk to anybody else today. Maybe the demons in your head, the conscience on your back, and you're hoping that your memory's gonna fade. You will never get it back. The yearning years, they burn the ears of the ones who listen in. Not even the angels did a tread. Now I lay in bed, I wake instead of paying down the debts. I got colorful regret in my head. To make up for the time that you lost along the way. You find something true to consume you, but nothing new to say. So baptize me again, or wash away my sin. And you beg the groom to come and marry you, but only if he woos you from the heavens. The yearning years, they burn the ears of the ones who listen in. And this is where the faithful lose the thread. Now I dream in red, I sleep instead of paying down the debt. I got colorful regret in my head. Colorful regret, I got colorful regret. Colorful regret in my head. Colorful regret, I got colorful now. Colorful regret in my head.
Yes. Dude.
Thanks for the opportunity to
That's
ruin your
beautiful.
Monday.
We hope that we did ruin your Monday. That's so cool. Watching someone do such a killer song and not speed up. He must be a drummer.
Oh, that's the one thing you learn. It's time and tune and tone, and you're in. It doesn't matter about how much you know about music.
Well, man, what a treat.
You too, man. Thanks
Thank
for
you for
having us.
doing
It's
this.
great to see you.
Yeah. So, thank you so much for the tips. We really appreciate it.
Playing for tips.
Yeah. We'll be back next Monday with Sharita Perez.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. And so, what else?
Well,
Back.
and your music, Arthur Yoria. This guy's for real. New record out on
Thank
Splice
you.
Records.
Yeah. It's out there. If you've not checked it out, go to Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you do these days,
That's the exclusive thing you do these days.
right? And then we're working on something. We should have something new by January. We're maybe an EP or something like that. But we're working.
Absolutely, man.
We're putting it out there. We ain't quitting, right?
Heck no.
What else would we do? In any case, back by popular demand, Rita Hayworth. People demand to see her.
Oh, I
Otherwise,
do. I know I do. Rita.
Thank you, folks.